and welcome to Follow Everton. I'm Ryan, your host, and I'm here with Basil. How are you, Basil?
I'm okay. How are you doing?
Really good, thank you. What was that little buzz just then? Is that something coming on your own? You've got it to stop.
No, I have no idea.
Or could it be the buzz around the news Everton have reportedly had bids accepted for Joachim Correa and Cunha, who is a Brazilian striker who played for the Brazilian Olympic team and won a gold medal with Richarlison. Can I ask you for your initial reactions to that? Obviously, there were other clubs, Inter Milan, of course, and Atletico Madrid involved. With bids accepted as well, and the player is choosing between Everton and these two clubs. But do you think these are players we should be looking at and a step in the right direction in terms of recruitment?
Yeah, I think that the most interesting thing for me is, what's going on with the finances. Have we just been playing a persona for the last sort of 2 months that we've got no money at all, so that we can get players in on dirt cheap, and then at the very end, we've got a small pot of 20 to 30 million that actually maybe we can do some business, but we didn't want to get stung by it earlier in the window. In regards to these possibilities, I mean, we're not going to get both of them, are we? It's one or the other. And it seems like Correa, it's reported that he doesn't want to come to us. No surprise there, and therefore we've got a backup option lined up in Cunha. Yeah, I don't know much about these players, but I mean they have got a good record on paper in terms of their goals and assists last season, and they offer another dimension to our attack. They can play through the middle or out wide. Obviously, Cunha, he knows Richarlison. They've just been to the Olympics. They linked up well. So, he could bed in quite quickly with that link, you would hope. So, there's something in that, but then Korea's a little bit more established, isn't he? So, he could add a dimension straight away.
I think, to be honest with you, I would be preferring Cunha, I think, coming in and someone Richarlison's obviously been in his ear telling him to join Everton. And I think what's happened there clearly is that Everton have been watching Richarlison at the Olympics and have seen this player and really liked him and have put their head in the door and said, we'll take him and made a substantial offer. And apparently the player is he likes Everton, but, his agent's pushing him in the direction of Atletico Madrid. And the thing with Atletico is he's surely going to have more competition there. It's going to be harder for him to establish himself and come into the Premier League earning good money. He's a young player, so he could still move on to bigger things maybe, but he's got that Brazilian link. So you'd hope there was a chance that they could get that deal done. You obviously watched a lot of the Olympics and you saw Richarlison and he did impress. He scored in the semi-final, and he was a real talent, wasn't he?
Yeah, no, Richarlison was sort of bang on form during the Olympics. He was top scorer, and he did link up well with the other Brazilians, including Cunha. So it does strike for something positive if we can bring him in. But I don't know what we're planning here. It looks like we've gone for Correa and we've got Cunha as a backup, to be honest. I'm not really sure. But he's 22, isn't he? So there's a lot of promise there. As you say, he can come in and not feel like he's going to be there for forever. He can develop, he can move on. He can get to Richarlison's stage of development, and then maybe, if he doesn't want to stay, then he'll go. But, there's an opportunity for a few years there where he could come in, help us, and develop himself.
For me, I think it would be a no-brainer in terms of bringing him in. And I think from his perspective, he should look at it as a really good opportunity as well. He's a 22-year-old. He just turned 22. He plays for Hertha Berlin. Good record last season with 8 goals and 28 appearances for the German side. And prior to that, he played for RB Leipzig. And he was reasonably effective in terms of his performances, but he did struggle to make an impact really with the goals. Before that, he was at the Swiss League. He played for Sion, so he's had a few clubs already, and he's experienced over 123 appearances at professional level. So he's not a complete novice. And obviously, those 24 caps for the Brazil under-23s are 21 goals in that, in those appearances. That's a good record, and I think if we could bring him in, it would be, a real coup. Obviously, with the Correa one, it seems that Inter Milan are favourites to sign him, and I think it's difficult for Everton to compete this season with the Italian giants, the Italian league winners, and the Spanish league winners.
Yeah, it's going to be tricky with Inter Milan because they've just had a big cash flow from Lukaku at 97 million. I know they're in financial problems, but I'm sure with that money would have gone a long way to solving that, and they might have a bit of spare change to bring somebody in.
Yeah.
So it will be difficult. It's a question of whether Inter Milan actually want him. If it's true that they want him as well, then he's probably going to go there. But maybe that's what the Cunha thing is. However, I mean, is this where we should be looking for to spend 30 million? Would you be spending it on the attacker, or would you be looking to spend it on a centre back or right back or combination?
I think for me it was quite obvious that they tried to sign Dumfries, who Brands had signed personally at PSV, and it looked like he just favoured a move to Inter Milan. And can you blame him really for wanting to go and join the Italian giants and the league winners there? So they've lost out to him, and maybe it's a case of, well, if we couldn't get our first choice right back, and the others on that list aren't quite good enough, let's look at some of the other positions. And I think Correa looks like a replacement for James Rodriguez, and Cunha, it looks like a replacement for Moise Kean. So I think those two, on the balance of it, would send us in the right direction and probably be more effective in the style we want. I'm at the conclusion that Moise Kean is too immature, and he going to struggle in the Premier League. Famous last words. But I just think from what I've seen of him, his fitness and his attitude and his profile probably doesn't suit what we're looking for. And unless he can somehow motivate himself at Everton, I think we're just wasting our time with him, and to move him on and invest in maybe someone like Cunha is coming in to play with other Brazilians.
I don't know. He's not an out-and-out striker, is he?
He can play up front or off the side. He did play up front for Brazil, and he's played up front for Hertha Berlin. So he would come in for me as a direct replacement. But these two players are far more inspirational than some of the other names that we've been linked with.
Well, Moise Kean, for me, he's not even in my head at the moment. The fact he came on at 89 minutes into the game the other day just shows how ineffective Rafa thinks he's going to be compared to Calvert-Lewin with a foot injury, who's not trained. He couldn't even give him 20 minutes, up front together or something. So, he obviously doesn't think he's in the frame of mind or he's got the fitness. But what he is, if you compare him to, say, Lukaku or Calvert-Lewin when they came into us before they were the finished article, you can see he kind of is along those lines, isn't he, of the Calvert-Lewin we saw playing down the wing when 5 years ago. And look how he's developed. So you can see the potential there, but his mental frame of mind doesn't seem to be with Everton. I would try and move him on for a decent fee.
If he doesn't want to be here, there's no point keeping him. And I think a player that's motivated, a Moise Kean that would be motivated, could be effective. But from what I've seen, attitude-wise, fitness-wise, and ability-wise, he probably needs to be in a different league, and that's why he excelled at PSG. Regarding someone like Cunha, though, you want to be looking in this market players who are just getting discovered before they get too big and too expensive for us. So I think he would be an ideal signing, and I think it's the right market for us to be looking at. With the Correa one, I think that's very much for the here and now. He's just turned 27, a full Argentina international, and clearly someone with bags of ability. And I think both of these would send out a big statement. And I think the fans need to see that Look, it doesn't seem to matter what you spend. We've picked up Damari Gray, who's looked like our best winger, for years, for less than 2 million. So it shows there's value in the market there. And let's hope these two signings come through and
obviously Townsend and Gray, they didn't look like great signings on the face of it, but if you look at our squad and the dynamics of it, how weak we were in those positions, even a couple of £1 million player with a bit of pace is going to look much better than anything we've seen for a few years. So, but when it comes to, that sort of centre forward area, striker or cam area, we do have a bit of quality already there. So, Correa and Cunha, they're £30 million players because they need to come in and be starters, don't they? We don't have a space otherwise.
But we don't necessarily have a space to fit everyone in, and I think that's part of having a squad. Basil, moving on from them, obviously we've established these would be good players, but there's another player we've been linked with, which is the Rangers right back, Nathan Patterson. He's a highly rated 19-year-old right back. He's second choice at Rangers, and Stephen Slippy G said it was a farcical bid for him. But again, is that the right sort of market looking at, or is that someone probably is coming over to the Premier League a little bit too soon for what we need, which is someone maybe for the here and now, but also someone who can definitely replace Coleman as first choice in the years to come?
Yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because from what I've heard, they've got the other fella, haven't they, Tavernier, and he's the captain. So it's a bit like the Coleman situation, isn't it? You don't really want to drop him, but you've got this promising one coming through.
His route's blocked slightly. Then you'd say maybe
he's blocked a little bit. Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, from what I've heard, he's really as good as Tavernier, really. From he's only 18, so he's the sort of player. Yes, we should be going for. But apparently 5 million is not his valuation. I don't know what his valuation is. Maybe
good players. It's just very obvious. Good players command a lot of money, and pretty much everyone else is.
I mean, think about it like this: if we don't have the money, or we do have 30 million, but we're going to use 20 to pay for a striker or a winger who's going to add the forward dimension that is probably quite important. That leaves you with, say, 5 to 10 million left. Would you buy the Rangers right back, whose name escapes me, or the 18-year-old who's got a lot of potential, or would you go for Butter or whatever his name is, the one who's kind of got a bit more experience under his belt and is more going to come in and probably develop a bit quicker? How do you view that?
It is a difficult one, Dave. I'm thinking that Everton have had money all along, and they're kind of saving it for the right moments. I think the Dumfries one's clearly someone they've tried to get him, and he's chose to go to Inter Milan, and that's a player preference. You can't fight against that sometimes, as much as they've probably been patient enough and really worked on it, but it's not come off. So it seems to be that there is money. There's a prioritization of positions, and it might just come back down to the fact that Correa doesn't join and Cunha doesn't join, and the only real transfer target who's on the long list of players that they want is this Rangers right back, in which case go out and sign him and pay what they want. Just bringing in Stephen Richardson. Hi, Stephen. Give us a like on YouTube. Thanks for subscribing. We appreciate seeing all of our members and subscribers on our videos. He's saying, thought we had to sell before getting more players in. I don't think it looks good in a market to say you've got money, because the prices go up. So I think Everton are coming across skin, maybe with these two bargain basement signings might help them. But it's quite obvious that the deals for Correa and Cunha, they would be staggered payments, and clubs abroad like that. But in the Premier League, they just want flat out cash, or nothing's happening. And Will Lewis is asking, hi, Will. He's saying, is this news true? Well, from what we've seen, it does seem that they've had a bid accepted for Correa, and they've met Lazio's asking price of 35 million euros, which actually was more than Inter Milan were prepared to offer. and a substantial contract, which blew Inter Milan's out the water. But it seems to want to stay in Italy with Inter, so it is going to be difficult to convince him.
It's interesting that because I'd read that he wants to move away. I've read, you just don't know what to believe, do you? I've read that he wants to move, definitely, and there's 2 offers on the table, and he wants to get away. But let's see what he chooses.
Very, very good point. There's a lot of conflicting things, but we take it on face value that the bid's gone in, and also with the Cunha one, where we're told that a bid's been accepted, and the player likes Everton. Obviously, he's heard Richarlison's begging him to come here, but he's got Atletico Madrid also prepared to meet his asking price. So I think what happens is a club will say we're prepared to pay this amount. I don't think it's like eBay where someone's bidding on something. I think it's like, we're prepared to pay this amount for this player. Would that be acceptable? And Lazio and Hertha Berlin have on the likelihood said yes. It's just a case of where are these players going to join? Steve's also saying we need a right back to cover Coleman, but we've already established Seamus is probably going to play 20 good games and 18 bad games, and I think we need the successor, but someone who can fill in when he's not at the races. And friend of the channel, Neil, has joined. Hi, Neil. He's saying he wants Patterson. He wants him from Rangers, and if not, we'll get Butter in to spread the play. Neil's also saying we've been cute for once, and like Steve Walsh and Koeman, spend. I do think it's important to show a little bit more tact, because we've had our pants pulled down a few times in the windows previously. So I think playing poverty helps. And Dave, I spoke to you pre-season. Everton being an underdog in the market as well, and being an underdog on the pitch seems to help us a little bit. If you look at the sides in the Premier League era that have done well, in terms of Everton sides, they've always been when the media have written them off and no one wants to sign for them. So do you think maybe an element of that this season where we can sneak in and go under the radar with transfers and be the little dark horses that no one expects to do well?
I hope so. I do. We did have quite a bit of, I don't know if it would call it success, but we were stable enough when we were doing that under Moyes, and we were, we seemed to be consistently performing around the sort of top 7. Now, since we've started spending more money, it looks like every other team above us has also spent more money, and we've just been fighting a losing battle really, and signing the wrong players. What's the difference? Damari Gray at 1.6 million. I know he has had consistency problems, but on the face of it, could be a better signing than half of the 30 million ones we've got the last 5 years. So, there's definitely that market to exploit. And even if you have to pay 22 million, 25 million to get Godfrey in last year, that sort of market we should be looking in, rather than splashing out 40 million on players who are nearly finished, or
unless they're absolutely convinced on them, which by the looks of it they probably are with these two.
They are with Correa. Yeah.
Mark's a friend of the channel. He watches all of our videos on Facebook. Hi, Mark. He's saying, so now we have money, but we let Bailey go to that. Maybe we didn't want Bailey. Maybe we didn't actually want him, and we got better value in Damari Gray. And we've prioritised another position, because bear in mind, we could still lose James. We appear to have lost Skilfy Sigurdsson, and they're 2 attacking midfielders, and so maybe these players that we're looking at are to fill in those slots, and out and out wingers, they're happy with Townsend and Gray, or maybe they didn't want Bailey. It's interesting. Neil's saying the elastic on our pants is pretty much shot. They've been pulled down that often. And he also touches on the fact, would Bailey have been a better bet? I think that's one thing we have to wait and see. I think the fee for Bailey was similar to the ones quoted for these players, and we'll just see how he does at Villa. We'll know.
He's already got an assist, hasn't he? It's an odd one. I'm not sure we really have the money, but it remains to be seen.
Just before we move on, we'll touch on this other comment from Neil, who's saying we've brought young players in that have failed. Lukman, Onyenkuru, and Vlasic not had an impact. We sold them all for profit. So signing Patterson, if he fails, you could still make some money on him. I think it's safer to buy players like this at this level, like Cunha. But, we did try and buy the Sandros of the world, and, that didn't quite work as well. And he was a young player coming in. So it's difficult to know what to do. Lukman, he did well at Fulham at times, but he's flattered to see at Everton, and Vlasic has obviously gone on to play for Croatia in the World Cup and the Euros. So you could argue that we probably should have kept hold of him. And Onyekuru, well, the less said about him, the better, I suppose. Dave, moving on, we play Huddersfield tomorrow night in the League Cup. It's the second round, I believe. An opportunity perhaps to give the likes of Jean-Philippe Gbamin a run out against decent opposition at Huddersfield, 10th in the Championship. They're quite a rigid side, a reliable team. Obviously, recently in the Premier League, but being relegated. So, is this a good test, maybe, where you can still play some of your main players, but give opportunities to Gbamin and let Alan rest, and maybe an opportunity for Moise Kean and certainly Godfrey if he's available?
Yeah, I mean, we don't know who's available, do we? Has there been a press conference today? Because I couldn't find one. I think it's all hush-hush at the moment. So we really won't know who's available. But if I'm going to have to go off the proviso that the same players are available, plus James is in training, isn't he? So he could be. He started training today, or he was meant to be starting training.
Have you seen any content surrounding that?
Well, they won't broadcast it, will they?
You're hanging out outside Finch Farm after work.
It's a question of how many of these players. I want to see Gbamin, of course, because I think he could add real value to the squad in terms of the Premier League games. So we need to get him minutes and get him up to speed. Then it's a question of who else do you think we play? Well, Gomez, I can't count him because he's in the group, isn't he, with the others? So how many do we play? Because I've been just thinking about the team, and I've put together a lineup with 11 changes just to show who could play if we wanted to swap a player out. So the only one that I couldn't get rid of was Gray, because unless James is ready to go, which I doubt he is, he would be in there. So you've got, obviously, Begovic will probably play anyway. And then, looking at it, Kenny might play. You got Holgate, Branthwaite. I don't see him playing, but I put him in as a substitute there. And Nkunku, I think most people want to see Nkunku play, but I think personally we're going to need some experience. And I think more likely that back four will have Mina and Dean there with Holgate and Kenny. Then you got Gbamin and Davies is semi-likely, isn't it? But you've got Delph as well. Manager seems to favour Delph, and I wouldn't be surprised if he gets the nod. And then you've got to pick your forwards. We don't really have two strikers if we want to rest Richarlison, who's been at the Olympics, and Calvert-Lewin, who's got a foot injury. So it looks like Moise Kean, and then you got Townsend and Gordon. I don't know how much confidence this fills you with, but we are playing Huddersfield.
Relegated in the Premier League comfortably outside that team.
Well, in the Premier League it would, but Huddersfield have played a few games so far. Looking earlier, they lost their games against Sheffield United and against Fulham, who were obviously just relegated from the Premier League. So, and they lost quite convincingly. And they won their games against somebody else, Stockport, and no, that was a different game. They won against Preston, and they drew against Derby. So they've not started amazingly well, and they've lost to those Premier League sides who've just been relegated. So I think our team should be comfortably beating them, our real Premier League team. And I think this team, with a few changes, should be winning still as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm being harsh to say that they'd get relegated, but it certainly would struggle at the Premier League level because, you look at the fullback area and at centre half, it's a little bit lacking experience and a little bit lightweight with Holgate and Kenny. And, on the wings, he still comes across as the Palace winger who didn't get the new contract, and Gordon struggled at Preston on loan. And Keane, a player who's never really cut it at Everton in that first season, and Gbamin is an untested resource. And Tom Davis is someone who seems to be a bit of an enigma. Basil, what's that weird line noise coming through? Have you got your phone on really close to this?
Somebody was calling, but I've turned it off.
Okay, can you turn it off again?
Yeah, no,
Move it away. Move it away because it's causing interference. Okay, I'm muting you while I speak. Coming from me.
It's you.
It's gone now. Yeah, so I mean, I don't think we're going to see all of the players you mentioned. Obviously, I just think it's too risky. I think we need to try and keep as close to the main team as possible, and try and integrate a couple of players. Mark in the comments is saying about Godfrey, the isolation issue. Well, he wasn't isolating prior to the last fixture. He was seen training. I just think that's fitness because he wasn't fully fit, maybe. So obviously we'd like to see Ben Godfrey in. And Neil's saying about Begovic starting and Gbamin, Keane and Gordon. I think for me, some of the players, obviously, that you've said, come into the side. But others, I think we try and keep the core squad that played against Leeds. So for me, Moise Keane up front, possibly partnering Calvert-Lewin. I would be tempted to play Richarlison, get the game won, and go and take these off. Richarlison on the left, Gray on the right, and then in midfield, Gbamin, Gomez if he's fit, Gbamin and Gomez, or Gbamin and Tom Davis, and then the back four. Kenny's probably going to play. Hopefully Godfrey, possibly Branthwaite, but more than likely it'll be Mason Holgate, and then at left back, and Cunha. I think you can't play Dean in this game. I think just the risk of getting injured and leaving us with no one. So, I'm struggling actually, Dave, to know who to play. I'll tell you, I want to see Godfrey play. I want to see Gbamin play. I'd like to see Moise Keane play. So they're three players, and I'd probably give Begovic a run out. So go and fill in the rest of the blanks.
You're not going to play Kenny because Coleman's not going to play 2 games a week, is he?
He's going to play, Kenny, but it doesn't mean that I want him to play. What about Holgate at right back?
Well, that's another opportunity. Then you've got Branthwaite, haven't you? I don't think Godfrey's going to play. I think he's either, as you say, he's lacking in match fitness, or he's been isolating at the weekend or something. If he was,
whether he's actually had COVID. I mean, I think there's something suspicious going on.
I don't know, but he wasn't on the bench, was he, the other day? So he's obviously not in the frame of mind either way.
So, Basil, we've established, what we could have if we kind of ripped up the whole team. Would you like to see a combination of the main starters and a few players who are on the fringes, like I've just said, like your Gbamins, like your Moise Keane, and a couple of others, and stay strong, get the game won, and then think about changes?
Yeah, I think last season, I might be wrong, but I think we had 4 Premier League games before the international break. There was a bit more, there's an extra game there. I think this time around, there's 3 Premier League games and this cup game, and then it's the break. There's not much excuse here for not being able to play anyone from the squad who's available.
Maybe time to give Richarlison a rest and Calvert-Lewin, who's not really had a lot of training. Do you think possibly just?
But I don't know. Calvert-Lewin.
Maybe those two do sit out this game.
Yeah, I think he's got to rest those two, to be honest. But it doesn't fill me with much confidence watching them in pre-season, and then taking those 2 players out, we will lose basically most of our goal threat, won't we? But I think we've got to play Begovic. Obviously, we've got to play Kenny at right back, and then Holgate, Mina, then it's probably on Cuckoo, Gabam, Dave. But then you start going through like that, and you've ripped up most of the team from the weekend, and I don't think you can do that because the rhythm and everything will just be totally out the water. We've got to go half strong, half second team, and it's choosing the ones who will be offended. Like Davies hasn't had a kick so far in 2 games. Is he just going to sit as is he just going to sit on the bench the season and be happy? I suppose. Delph getting on before him. So
yeah, I mean, we haven't even mentioned Delph, have we? And Gomez. I think you could easily make an argument for Delph and Gomez and Gbamin to play as a midfield 3. Because for me, Tom Davies is well down the pecking order in terms of technical and physical ability. So you can make an argument that all 3 of them play, and we want to see Godfrey get some game time. And so it's a mind-boggling. It's difficult. So I think we've established we want to see the core team of Everton playing. We've got 1 game on Saturday, then the international break. So get the core team and maybe mix it up with a few different players. And at the end of the day, if you just go and change the entire midfield and put Gomez, Gbamin, and Delph in, I don't think we'll lose an awful lot.
I don't think he'll play a midfield 3. I think it'll either be 4-2-3-1 like we saw opening day, or 4-4-2. And I think we'll have Gray and Townsend on the wings. So it kind of leaves the question of who plays up front with Moise Kean, or if they're not up front, who's playing behind the striker. I think that's the one place for me that's really...
We've not even mentioned James.
Pardon?
We've not even mentioned James. If he's half fit, surely...
Yeah, but he's just come back. He's only played today, trained today.
I'm sure he's doing some form of training in isolation, fitness work and stuff. Just play him. Look, we're not managers, but we're saying what we like because we're fans and we watch all the matches. But, you look at that and you think we've got almost a fully fit team potentially, and it's going to be difficult to pick. It would be interesting to see Calvert-Lewin partner Moise Kean and Richarlison on the left, and maybe Gray or James on the right, and go all out attack, go and get the game won, and then go mix it.
I think that's too strong. I think Richarlison's got to be rested.
Let us know in the comments what you think.
Because I was reading Richarlison is if he goes to the internationals, is it true he comes back late? Because there's going to be rules in place that in the UK you've got to quarantine.
I don't know whether they did the exemption for internationals. Will's come out with the comment of the century. In the 6 months we've been doing this channel, I think that's my favourite comment. Basil as manager. What would the second name be, Will, for Basil? Come up with something funny and inventive for him. Basil Butter or something. We'll just take a brief moment here, actually, just to ask everyone who's watching this back on YouTube to hit the subscribe button, because we are going for 500 subscribers. I think we're up to 360 now. Come on. If you like what we're doing, I know there's a lot of you watching the videos and not subscribing. Please subscribe and show us some love. It means a lot. And if you shouldn't do it on my watch, do it because this man's telling you to.
It's Lucas Dean. Follow Everton.
Subscribe.
Yeah, of course.
See you later, Lucas.
It's Lucas Dean. Follow Everton.
Subscribe.
Yeah, of course.
I'm going to track down pretty much every Everton player in this squad and get them all to do a video asking you to subscribe. I'm only joking. But if we bump into them, I'll ask them to do more videos. Until now, you're going to keep seeing that Luca Dean one. Mark said he subscribed. Good man. Thank you very much. Kenny, hi, Kenny's a regular on the show. He says James rumoured to be in talk for Newcastle. I read that. I think that's bullshit, to be honest. Think he'd go there?
I don't think he'd go there. That'd be even colder than here.
And Neil's saying Gbamin plays with Delph and Gomez. He's going to need to run like Forrest Gump. I mean, yeah, it'd be nice to see Gbamin just get a run out and show some faith and trust in him, I suppose. Neil's also saying to rest Richarlison because at risk of an injury, and try and We should try and get Brazil. I read that as Basel because we were talking about being manager. We should try and get Brazil to leave him out this break so we can have a rest. I don't see him wanting to have a rest. So it's just the way he's inclined, isn't it, Dave? He's going to want to go and play for Brazil.
Yeah, but I think, are we entitled then to say, look, you can't go this time because we let him go for the Olympics and he's going to have to quarantine for 10 days when he gets back. So, but, the Premier League have basically said now that the players can go, whereas last time it was up to the clubs whether they wanted to send them away. So literally he's going to go off, isn't he? And is that the same for Mina? And so it's going to leave us a lot of games where we're not going to be without these players.
Stephen's saying subscribed. I don't know whether you've subscribed previously, Steve, or you've just subscribed now. But if you've just subscribed now, thank you very much. I'm sure I've seen you on the videos before, so it's great to have you back. If my memory serves correctly, but it's nice, Dave, isn't it, to see so many of the regular people on our videos and that kind of loyalty to watch our channel. Talking about to Neil, Kenny, and Mark certainly, and Will. These are faces we've seen on a lot of our videos. It's really nice to have this following, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great. The same names are cropping up, which is fantastic that you're sort of sticking with us. I'm just looking at the Huddersfield lineups from the last few games. They seem to play with a 3-5-2. I don't know if that impacts our sort of formation in any way, whether we will need to play a 4-2-3-1 with that 3 in midfield to sort of combat them, because they're going to overload us in the midfield. But I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah, good point. But then they leave themselves open for the counter-attack on there. Out wide. I think Correa will absolutely love that. And tactically, it could be a nice fixture tomorrow and a good opportunity to show certain players to the fans
and put them in the shop window.
But I just think go and get the game won before you start fiddling around with the team too much. Unless he's really convinced that there's going to be a little drop off in quality by playing the likes of Kenny and Gomez. Kenny's just put an interesting comment through. He's talking about Lewis Dobbin. I mean, Rafa's known to rotate and really prioritise the league over cups. Certainly at Liverpool, as a Liverpool manager. I'm not talking about Champions League. I'm talking about, certainly I remember some things about him in the League Cup and certainly at Newcastle as well, getting criticism for playing kind of like reserve sides in big games. I don't expect to see Lewis Dobbin involved, but if he does go down the route of really trying to, he's not going to be allowed to do this, obviously, as Everton manager. We need to win competition. So I think he's going to be told to play his strongest team. But would it be nice to see someone like Lewis on the bench, perhaps, to get more experience and have a go? And just very quickly, Mark, thanks for watching. He's going to play football. See you after the game tomorrow. Yeah, we certainly will. So would you give him a little slot on the bench and maybe a 10-minute run out if we're winning the game comfortably?
I did think about him as that last player, that 11th player, to change the team entirely if we were doing that. But he's just not had the experience, has he? He's only really just moved up, and I know he's done really well for the under-23s. He's not really in the first team. I don't know if he's training now with the first team consistently. I'm guessing he might be, but there's no harm in having him on the bench and trying to win the game early and giving him some minutes. I don't see anything wrong with that. But yeah, it's an interesting one. I don't think Benitez can do that. It will be in his... No one's telling him who to play, of course, but it'll be in his objectives set to him by the board to at least get to the final or the semi-final of the two cup competitions. So he'll be straight away putting himself into the danger zone by getting knocked out stupidly. I think that would be quite a silly move, really.
Neil saying it's great to see that Follow Everton now has a second sponsor. David, Betfred this week. It was Coca-Cola last week. This is brilliant. This competes with Will's comment. Show us the top, Dave. We shouldn't really be having that because we would love a channel sponsor, and we've already been sponsored by Coca-Cola and Betfred in the past few videos. It's really good, and I'm authentic here with this Everton polo. This is available in the Everton shop, retailing. I think it was £40. What do you think of the Everton training gear, David? Are you going to invest in some? We might have to do a GoFundMe for you to get you some Everton gear from this season, because we can't be seeing you in all this Betfred, Coca-Cola. It'll be, what will it be next week, Dave? You'll be advertising a co-op or something like that.
Well, if we got on the Everton shirt, is there a sponsor on that?
No, this is like a very nice training type material, but it's like something you could wear fairly smart and for the pub or whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I'm looking at the home shirt at the moment. I think I'm going to need that. So, but yeah, they've got a new range out, so I'm sure there's some half decent stuff in there.
You bought the home kit, but you weren't sure whether to keep it because.
But it's so similar.
They're all blue, David. They're all blue.
I'm going to keep it, but I might change the size. Yeah.
They're a little bit skimpy, but I've ordered some bits and pieces from the Everton shop. I bought a walkout jacket. It's like a blue one. And I bought a large, and it was huge. But I bought the home shirt, and I had to go XL in that because it's tiny. So it's very, very bizarre how they're doing all the kits this season.
The players must be XXL.
Yeah, possibly. Neil's saying you've got your own commercial deals and you'll have your own channel. We've got to watch out. Really good. I mean, there's a lot of things we can touch on. I mean, I've been reading a lot of people getting angry about the tickets still, not having the season tickets. And Mabsy, obviously, from the channel. Mabsy, he still hasn't had a season ticket. So if you still haven't had it, let us know. And we'd be intrigued to know whether it's happening to lots of people. Just before we let you go, we'll quickly wrap up with the comments and the news that Thierry Small has left Everton as a 17-year-old. They made an offer to keep him, but he is gone. I think that's some bad advice on his part as a 17-year-old player to be leaving Everton Football Club with a route potentially to compete for the second spot behind Luca Dean, with Nkunku going on loan, and with the potential maybe of in the future, Luca Dean, obviously he's not getting any younger, he's 28, a few more years at the top, but as a 17-year-old, surely you're looking at that and thinking, I could compete there with Dean and then take over his place in a few years if he's that good enough, but he's left the club. And they'll be entitled to some compensation up to 5 million, I believe. So, what do you make of that?
Is this just come through or something?
Yeah, it's coming through now whilst we're on the stream. Let me know in the comments. Let us know what you think about Thierry Small, former Everton left back, leaving. Does that highlight some real issues with the academy where even the good players are going, and we've produced no one since Barkley of note?
It's a shame, isn't it, really, because he's been touted as like the next great left back after like Alphonso Davies just came out of nowhere and hit world stardom. He's been sort of acclaimed in that level that he can reach that level in like 5 years. So, it's a real disappointment we're letting someone like that go. But we made him an offer, and he wants to go. He doesn't want to stick around. So he thinks
we aren't producing any players, David. There's no one coming through of top 6 quality in the first team since Ross Barkley. We are not producing them. We have had 2 title-winning Premier League teams at League 2, and no one's come through. The only one who looks to have a sniff of a chance at the moment is Gordon.
But I think it's really impatient from Small. I don't know. He's only 17, isn't he? I don't know what he's expecting. I think whoever's advising him is telling him to go to other places because he's going to get minutes. He's going to go somewhere else. They're probably going to look at him and say, this guy's not ready. And then he'll just sit on the bench there.
Ancelotti said he was really good, and all the reports were saying that he's a fantastic prospect. So
he didn't put him on the bench that much, did he? Even when we went up to more substitutes.
I suppose. I'm a bit disappointed because I want to see the academy produce some players, and it's becoming very apparent that the pathway to the first team is blocked, or we're not producing them of a quality. But I look at a team like Liverpool, and I hate to mention this, but they seem to be able to sell ice to Eskimos. They seem to be able to sell the stuff you're throwing in the skip for, paying £2 for it. Because they managed to get Xherdan Shaqiri off the books for £9.5 million. I mean, this is a player on extortionate wages. And they seem to get lots of money for all their academy players. If Anthony Gordon was a player at Liverpool, you'd be thinking they're going to get 20 million for him because he's playing for Liverpool. We can't seem to get anything for anyone, even when we do let them go, and we can't produce anyone for our own team. So something not right there in that academy structure and what's going on. I know there's 20 of you watching us. The numbers are going up, but we're close to wrapping up, I'm afraid. We're just going to quickly go over the comments. If you're just joining us now, be sure to rewatch from the start and subscribe on YouTube. Neil's saying Small went weeks ago. In reality, I think we did know that. This was just a confirmation today. And saying that he signed from West Brom a couple of years ago and wasn't a boyhood Evertonian, so maybe there isn't that connection there, and he just wants to go and play football. And Kenny mentions that Lewis Dobbin was on the bench for the under-23s in the mini derby. So make of that what we will. Maybe he's involved tomorrow and therefore not playing tonight. But I find that hard to believe, to be honest. I think he's probably not involved because there's other players getting a chance. And I'm still waiting to see us probably get Andy Carroll. Yeah, on a free transfer there. David, anything else you want to say before we wrap things up?
No, I don't know about Dobbin. Dobbin has been playing. I think he's been playing all the games for the under-23s this season with them. Ellis Sims I think he's got an injury, hasn't he? So he hasn't been playing. So Dobbin's been playing instead. So the fact he's on the bench, maybe that says he will be on the bench tomorrow night. So yeah, we'll just wait and see on that one.
Almost forget about Ellis Sims. Hopefully he can recover from his injury and go out on loan again in January and assess him for maybe next season and see where he's at with this. But there just seems to be some sort of issue with the academy. Also worth noting that the stadium development apparently is going really well. People have been down Bramley-Moore Dock and seen some activity, and it's nice to see that. And I think it's uplifting for the fans to know that the future, not necessarily on the pitch, but off the pitch certainly. Well, on the pitch, I suppose, is looking bright. And Neil just mentions also in the comments, he's saying that our record of selling players is terrible, and they all end up at Blackpool. So, yeah, that sums it up, really. Guys, thank you very much for joining us on this Follow Everton video. This is the pre-match chat. We're trying to come up with some names for the shows. We're thinking the Toffee Sunday show, a little bit of a pun with the spelling and the graphics that we'd use. So that would be on Sundays. And we're looking for something. The line's gone a bit weird. It's gone very quiet. We're looking for some cool names. We've obviously got the Everton voice. So we're trying to come up with some cool names for some of the shows. So let us know. You can reach out to us on Twitter at Follow Everton. The DMs are open, and we're also looking for someone to help out on the channel. Obviously, we've got myself, Basil, Steve, who is our other brother who comes on the channel now and again. We've got Mabsy, obviously, excellent pundit, and John. Recent people won't have seen John, but he's such an enthusiastic young guy. He's a really good pundit, and we're hoping to get him back on more regularly when he's back in Liverpool for university in September. So that will be refreshing to see. And we also have Steve Ellie, so he's excellent. He's been on the fans forum and he gives an older man's perspective on things and really intelligent. He's got great connections in and around the club, and we love to have him on. And hopefully he'll be on soon. But we are looking for another person to come and join us as a pundit. Looks like David's got some sort of cat. Would you like to hold that up to the camera? This is what makes this channel extremely unique. We are just down to earth. people. He's had to mute himself because he's laughing his head off. Basil, just very quickly. Dave Duncan, we don't know your first name. Sorry. Please subscribe if you're just joining. Predictions for the game. Can I just get your prediction on Everton Huddersfield?
2-0.
2-0. Okay, I like that. Comfortable win. Clean sheet. Clean sheet would be nice. And no errors.
No errors because Keane's not in my team.
Yeah, the cat's a big Everton fan. Got an Everton bowl if that counts. We'll have to show you on a future video if it becomes disturbing. And Neil goes on and says, "Cheers, guys, fun and informative. Thank you very much." Kenny, I've also seen your suggestion for the name of the show. Keep them coming, please. You can send us a message on Facebook or Twitter. I really like the People's Voice. That's really cool. Thank you very much. Dave, pleasure. See you tomorrow night. Hopefully for a match. Hopefully it's a good one. Comfortable win, and we're not coming on to rant about something. I'll leave you with this really cool message from our friend Luca Dean.
Lucas Dean, follow Everton.
Subscribe.
Yeah, of course.
See you later, Lucas.
See
Thanks for that prediction. 3-1 up the Toffees. See you later.